Blood trickled down Zora Washington's cheek as she stared, dazed, at the boy who'd attacked her. For a moment, the hallway at Oakage High was frozen in silence. Bradley Richardson stood there smirking, not even noticing the blinking light of the new security camera overhead, or realizing that Zora's father, FBI Assistant Director James Washington, was already watching the live feed on his phone, halfway across town. Before we get into how this story exploded from high school bullying to an FBI case, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. If you believe every student deserves to feel safe at school, hit that like button. And if you're ready to stand up against discrimination, make sure to subscribe. But let's rewind and see how it all started. How a privileged bully targeted the wrong girl. And what happens when the system finally gets forced to face itself. When Zora first arrived at Oakage High, she was just 16, new in town, clutching her textbooks like a shield. Only 27 black students in a school of over 2,000. And she learned fast to keep her eyes down, footsteps quick, voice soft. Her family moved here for the academic state-of-the-art science labs. College prep stats, a partnership with Johns Hopkins that made her dream of medical research feel almost in reach. She'd always been a little obsessed while other kids filled their walls with posters of pop stars. Zora had news clippings about cancer breakthroughs and medical journals stacked on her nightstand. But Oakage wasn't just a place of opportunity. It was a place with old money, old power, and old names like the Richardsons. Bradley Richardson, third generation, family name literally carved in granite over the gym doors. His father, the school board chair. Bradley was the golden boy, wavy blonde hair, blue eyes, captain of the tennis team, and the self-declared heir to the title of valedictorian. Until, for the first time ever, his name dropped to second place right below Zora's son, the chemistry test ranking posted outside Mr. Peterson's door. At first, Bradley's response was all smirks and accidental bumps in the hallway, knocking Zora's books down with an apology that wasn't an apology. She started finding herself excluded from study groups, whispered about in the lunch line. The comments got sharper. Diversity scholarship case, affirmative action experiment, all said just loud enough for her to hear, but quiet enough to dodge at attention. Zora was raised to stand her ground, but her mom had warned her black girls who speak up get labeled, and that label follows you forever. So she swallowed her comebacks, focusing on her grades. The next test, she nailed a perfect 100. Mr. Peterson praised her out loud, even suggesting she apply for an MIT summer program. The look Bradley gave her that day was all venom. That's when things escalated. Crude drawings on her desk. Gym clothes dumped wet in the shower. The word quota spray-painted on her parking space. But Zora kept it all to herself. Her dad was always working late, chasing hate crime cases. Her mom had just started a demanding job at the hospital. So Zora told herself not to bother them. She'd deal with it, until the notes showed up in her locker. Crossing every line. Go back to the ghetto. N-word girls don't belong. That night, Zora cried in her bathroom, wondering how much longer she could last. Her friend Maya Chun noticed the change. Right away, Zora stopped joining lunch, stopped talking in class. Eventually, Maya cornered her in the bathroom, refusing to let her brush it off. Zora admitted some of it, and Maya begged her to report it. So Zora agreed to tell Principal Whitaker. The meeting was worse than she'd feared. Whitaker waved it off as teenage drama, blamed her for being overly sensitive, and reminded her of Bradley's family legacy. The very next day, Bradley doubled down. Every time Zora spoke up in class, he'd whisper about playing the race card, and his friends would pile on, making jokes about affirmative action. Her insomnia kicked in, grades slipped, and she dropped out of science Olympiad too tired to fight anymore. Even her mom didn't get it, just told her not to push so hard. The final straw came when Bradley accidentally spilled chocolate milk all over Zora's painstaking biology project. She overheard teachers whispering that crossing the Richardsons was career suicide, that even the adults knew what was happening but felt powerless. At home, Zora's dad was dealing with his own storm. As an FBI agent, he'd spent years tracking a hate group called the Heritage Protection Alliance, never realizing their tentacles reached into Oakage, or that his own daughter was being targeted as a test for young recruits. James's worlds were about to collide in the worst possible way. After Zora's project was sabotaged, her files mysteriously deleted. Backup drive destroyed her teacher, gave her a week extension, but no real help. Mr. Johnson, one of the few black teachers, found her in the lab and shared his own story about surviving in white-dominated spaces. He told her she wasn't alone, that she needed to document everything. With Maya's help, Zora started collecting evidence. Every insult, every incident, all of it. But then the bullying turned physical. In an empty hallway after school, Bradley cornered her, shoving her hard into the lockers and hissing racist slurs threatening her college future. Even her father's job. The assault was brutal, her head cracked against the metal, stars exploding behind her eyes. Maya ran for help. Mr. Johnson arrived, demanded the police and ambulance. Still, the principal called it mutual combat and tried to suspend them both. But this time, the new security camera caught everything. As Zora lay in the hospital, her dad received the footage. Watching Bradley's calculated attack, James recognized the tactics textbook hate group initiation. When he dug deeper, the pieces fell into place. Bradley's father, Lawrence, was a donor and recruiter for the Heritage Protection Alliance. Zora had been targeted for who she was and because of who her father was. When the Richardsons tried to bury everything with threats and hush money, James went straight to the FBI. Agent Rodriguez took point, and the investigation exploded. Financial ties, secret emails, an organized campaign to drive minority students out of elite schools. Suddenly, students at Oakage and beyond came forward with stories of their own. The FBI raids made national news. The Heritage Protection Alliance was unmasked. Principal Whitaker was placed on leave. Bradley's family fell from grace, and he faced juvenile hate crime charges. Zora, with therapy and her family support, found her voice testifying at the trial, launching an anti-discrimination group, and inspiring other students to speak out. By the time the trial ended, Lawrence Richardson was sentenced to 15 years. Bradley began de-radicalization counseling. Oakage High reformed its policies, and Mr. Johnson was promoted to lead real change. Zora transformed her pain into purpose, pushing for systems that protect all students. Her story became a national conversation, a reminder that racism hides in plain sight, that silence enables it, and that courage can change everything. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share. Comment below. What would you do if you witnessed discrimination? Let's keep building communities where every voice matters. Change starts with awareness, grows through action, and lives in every story we share.